Hello everyone, back to today's second video, doing GWV Sunday Round-Up for today's second video. So this is going to be your Sunday afternoon eclectic mix of this and that. We'll be looking at things like sea surface temperature anomalies, solar activity, the SOI, what's happening with ENSO. We'll look at Eurasian snow cover and Arctic ice extent, as well as the QBO, the AO, the LEO, and the weather for next week to 10 days. Well, so sit back, relax, and enjoy. If you're self-isolating, then hopefully we'll be able to keep you entertained this afternoon. Lovely day out there, so if you're able to, you can go into your gardens, but of course self-isolating, don't go beyond that, but yes, you can sort of get a bit of sunshine on your face in your garden, and it's absolutely lovely day out there. Today, although the wind is a bit cold, so put your coat on. But yes, we'll keep you entertained if you're self-isolating at GWV. We're going to keep videos going. We're going to keep uploading and recording for as long as we can. And hopefully we'll be able to take your mind off this dreadful crisis in the next few days, weeks, and months to come. So, through this afternoon, we are also going to have the ECMWF, Metro France, and DWD seasonal update. So that's going to be the third video release later on this afternoon. And the first video release was the third summer 2020 analogs update. That's a bit of a QBO special. It starts off very, very well, and then it all goes a little bit wrong at the end in the last sort of 5 minutes. So have a look at that. I won't tell you what happens, but have a look. And it is quite funny what happens in the final stages of the video. I'll get that onto the summer updates page for you this evening. There'll be a written summary that goes with that as well. I'll get that up for you this evening. Right, so let's get on with it then. I'm going to start off with solar activity. We haven't got any trackers again this week, so sorry about that. But we have got the image of the solar disk on our side of this today from soham.net, showing visible sunspot regions, although there are no visible sunspot regions because there aren't any sunspots. So we're at solar minimum, and we're going to be staying at solar minimum for the next few weeks and months, and so solar activity is at very low levels, and it's expected to remain at very low levels certainly for the next 3 days, and probably beyond that. No visible sunspot regions at all on the solar disk on our side of the disk today. They have a completely spotless solar disk. Right, this is how the oceans were looking last week in terms of the Atlantic and Pacific Ocean. So we've got our three areas of interest. We've got the ENSO region, of course, which is just here. We've got the Northern Pacific, which is over there. And then we have got the North Atlantic Ocean, which is just there. That's how the oceans were looking last week. We did last week's Sunday Roundup. This is the very latest in terms of the sea surface temperature. So deal with the ENSO region first of all. You see there's been very little change in the ENSO region over the past week. It's possibly warmed up a little bit, but overall we're at ENSO neutral, and we're going to be remaining at ENSO neutral for the time being. Very little change in terms of sea surface temperature in the ENSO region. Going into the northern part of the Pacific Ocean. So that's how things looked last week in the Northern Pacific. This is the latest. So it has perhaps warmed up a little bit just here. But otherwise, it's still generally colder than average around the coast of Alaska, Canada, North America, and particularly just here off the coast of America around there. That's kind of like a signature for the cold PDO, actually. That's where it gets cold, where you're in a cold PDO type setup. Overall, we are in a warm phase of the Pacific Decadal Oscillation now, I think, have been for a few years. But you will get years that deviate within any state. So although we are generally in the warm phase of the PDO, this year, 2020, I think is actually going to be a colder year for the Pacific Decadal Oscillation. That might allow us to start thinking about a La Nina later on in the year. More about that in a moment. Very little change from last week to this week in the Pacific. And going over to the North Atlantic, again, this is how things looked in the Atlantic Ocean last week. This is the latest, so again, very little change there. It's warmer than average through the tropical Atlantic Ocean, particularly off the coast of Africa. It's colder than average up here. The cold blob is back to south of Greenland and over to the UK and Ireland. And in between, it's pretty warm, really. So it's colder there, it's warmer through here, and then it's very warm down there potentially. So this isn't anything other than a signal for a positive NAO, a westerly type setup, and that's the reason, of course, or one of the reasons that we've had a very westerly winter, that the Atlantic Ocean has been primed. It's been primed to deliver us a very positive NAO and westerly type pattern. And those sea surface temperature anomalies continue with that sort of idea at the moment. Very little change in either the Atlantic or the Pacific Ocean over last week to this week. Everything quite stable there. This is how things are looking in terms of the SOI. This is from Queensland Government, which is part of Bureau of Meteorology. So the SOI is just an index that's reflecting the atmospheric state. It's measuring air pressures between Darwin in Northern Australia and Tahiti in the Southern Pacific Ocean. So when the SOI is in its negative phase, atmospheric setup will be reflective of El Nino. When the SOI is in its positive phase, atmospheric setup will be reflective of La Nina. If we scroll down, we can see that actually we have had some negativity of the SOI over the past week. That could explain the slight increase in sea surface temperature anomalies through the equatorial Pacific Ocean from last week to this week. So we've got the 17th of March, for example, coming out at minus 14.93. These are our air pressures columns, by the way. So that's Tahiti just there. And that's down just there, measuring air pressures in terms of barometric pressure, of course. So 17th of March is minus 14 for the SOI. 18th of March is minus 21. 19th of March is minus 14. That's quite strongly reflective of an El Nino type setup in the Southern Pacific Ocean for those days. 20th of March goes down to minus 8, 21st of March goes down to minus 7, and the very latest day, of course, they're ahead of us in Australia, 22nd of March comes out at minus 6.51, so still reflective of an El Nino type setup in the Southern Pacific Ocean. And what this, of course, is meaning is that at the moment we're at ENSO neutral, on the warm side of ENSO neutral, and that's continuing really for the time being. If those negative numbers were to continue for like several weeks and the next 2 or 3 months, then we would probably start having to think about moving in towards an El Nino through this summer. However, it's only a few days worth of data, and overall we remain at ENSO neutral, and we're expecting to stay at ENSO neutral for the time being. However, CFSV2 is continuing to be quite set on sending us into a La Nina, a cold event through this year. So this is the forecast of the CFSV2 ensemble, of course, for the next few months. Got our temperature anomalies on the side, and our dates are on the bottom. This is forecast for sea surface temperatures. So to get an El Nino or La Nina, you have to be half a degree above for El Nino or half a degree or more below average for La Nina. Where we are right now is just there. So we are actually just about into El Nino type threshold in terms of the overall sea surface temperature. It's just ever so slightly above half a degree above average. But you'll see that from now onwards, and it really is from now onwards, actually, we are forecasting, or CFSV2 is forecasting quite a rapid descent into a weak La Nina by the summer. So this is July just here, and by then CFSV2 has us around 1 degree below average. So the CFS is moving us from where we are in like late March to where we're going to be in July, if that's right. That's quite a rapid descent that CFS is producing into La Nina through the early part of the summer, late spring and into early summer. And then it continues to strengthen that La Nina signal as we go further out. It's getting very long way out, of course, but as we go towards the end of the year, that's October there, that's January 2021 there, we see that we're actually reaching moderate La Nina territory. We're going down to around 1.5 degrees below average. So yes, the CFSV2 certainly wants to produce a La Nina by the summer, and it, although it's a relatively weak La Nina for the summer, as we get through towards the autumn, it actually develops things into a moderate La Nina. Now, whether it has much support or not from other models, we shall find out on Friday when we do Friday's ENSO update. But if that's right, it's only one model, of course, so we've got to wait and see whether other models back it up. But if that is right, that will be the strongest La Nina that we've had for quite a long time, probably for about 10 years. Probably the winter of 2010, 2011 was the last time we had a moderate La Nina, or maybe 2011, 2012. But anyway, it's definitely a long time since we've had one, and that's something to keep a close eye on. It could have impacts for the summer if it transitions very quickly into like quite a strong La Nina event. It could cause us problems for this summer. The summer of 2007, for example, was a rapidly developing and quite strong La Nina summer. We know what happened during the summer of 2007. It was a terrible, terrible summer. So it's something to watch for the longer term, this. And as I say, it's only 1 March, it's only CFSV2. We don't know yet how much support there is amongst other model output, and there's no sign of a La Nina at the moment in terms of the sea surface temperature anomalies, by the way. So, I mean, it is a bit colder up here, though, so that's one of the things that can sort of precede a La Nina when the Northern Pacific is colder. Also, it's a bit colder down here as well, so that can precede a La Nina. But in terms of the actual Pacific Ocean itself, there's no sign really of La Nina and cold and average sea surface temperature anomalies at the moment. But then again, the CFSV2, I mean, that's where we're starting off at, and it's from now onwards really that the CFS is showing this decline. So if CFS is right, by the time you get through to like the end of by the time we get through to the end of April and start of May, we should be seeing clear signs of this La Nina getting going. So it's one to watch anyway. We should keep you posted about it, and we're going to do the ENSO update for March on Friday, which I think will be quite an interesting watch. So check back for more about ENSO on Friday evening. Right, moving on to Eurasian snow cover. So this is how things are currently looking in terms of Eurasian snow cover and Arctic size extent. Snow cover is now dying back very quickly from the western part of Russia. It's pulling back now into more central parts of Russia. Still got plenty of snow cover across northern Scandinavia, but western Russia is snow-free, and most other parts of Europe are actually snow-free at the moment, except over mountainous areas. Of course, we're going on into the spring, so we expect now to start seeing the end of the snow cover season. Plenty of Arctic sea ice, though. That's this yellow area up here. There's plenty of ice in the Arctic at the moment. Of course, we don't know how long that ice is going to last for, because we're going to be going into the melt season shortly. So we will lose a lot of that ice, but at the moment, it's not looking too bad. If we go over to this chart, which is from National Snow and Ice Data Centre, this shows us that we have actually probably just about reached our peak for this year's Arctic sea ice extent. I think we did it just there. This blue line is this year, by the way. So this one just here. So I think we reached the peak for Arctic sea ice extent just there, and we will now drop. We will drop gradually and slowly into the minimum extent for this year, and that will take place through the summer and will reach the minimum extent sometime in early September. Comparing this year with long-term averages, so this other blue line just here, that's the 2011 to 2019 average. So, as we've been explaining in videos over the past few weeks, Arctic sea ice extent has been doing better than its most recent 10-year average, 2011 to 2019. You can see that we are above 2011 to 2019 average there for this year. For 2001 to 2010, very much on a par with 2001 to 2010. So it has been a better year, a better winter for Arctic sea ice extent, definitely. But again, a lot of this is very thin and flimsy ice, so it could melt very quickly into the summer. The green line there is the 1991 to 2000 average. We are below that, of course, and we're even further below that orange line, which is the 79 to 1990 average. So we have done better this year for Arctic sea ice extent, but only in comparison to more recent averages, not to the very long-term averages, and we don't know how long that Arctic sea ice is going to last that we've got this year. A lot of it is probably going to melt as we go through into the summer. This is showing the QBO, so this is from NASA. So I thought we'd just have a quick look at this. The blue area just here is where we've got the easterly QBOs. The sandy coloured areas where we've got westerly QBOs. We're talking about this, and actually we talked about the QBO in today's third summer 2020 analogues update. So this is a bit of a QBO special. We're transitioning into an easy phase of the QBO. You think that this is like the levels of the atmosphere. This is 10 HPA just here up in the stratosphere. This is down on the floor, really where we are. And you can see that in the top levels of the atmosphere, we've got this blue area which is the easterly QBO. That's descending through the atmosphere, but it is struggling to get to the 30 to 50 HPA level. That's 30 HPA just there. That's where the stratosphere meets the troposphere. Troposphere is the boundary level of the atmosphere. Weather is taking place, of course, and that's 50 HPA just there. You can see how those blue colours are struggling to infiltrate into the 30 to 50 HPA level at the moment. And we just keep these raggedy sort of sandy coloured areas going along that 30 HPA line. So we're very weakly into the easterly phase of the QBO. But we are struggling to sort of get it going properly. It's been a slow process compared to the last time we transitioned into the ECQBO, which is just here back in 2017. You'll see how there's a very smooth descent of the ECQBO through the summer of 2017. Very smooth transition from west to east QBO, and quite a quick transition as well. This time it's taking its time, it's struggling. It's doing it slowly. We will eventually get there, though. Somebody asked me whether we might see a failure of this easterly QBO again. And the answer to that is that I don't think we will. I don't think anything can stop this easterly QBO eventually powering up. This is from the University of Berlin. Again, it's depicting the westerly and easterly QBO phases. Remember, the QBO is just an index that's reflecting the strength of the zone of westerlies, really. So when you're in a westerly QBO, you power up the zone of westerlies. When in an easterly QBO, you weaken the zone of westerlies. So these darker coloured areas, that's where we've got the westerly QBO phases. Where we've got the white areas, that's where we've got the easterly QBO phases. So this is from the University of Berlin. If we scroll down, you can actually see when we had that failure of the easterly QBO back in 2016. So just here, that's when we had the failure of the easterly QBO. You notice that at lower levels of the atmosphere, we did have an easterly QBO. But it didn't descend through the levels of the atmosphere down into the troposphere, as you would not expect. That's the easterly QBO from 2017-18. Nice, smooth descent look of that white area down from the stratosphere into the troposphere. We didn't get that back in 2016. The ECQBO did appear up there for a few weeks at the start of 2016. It appeared around 10 HPA, but it never descended any further. It never descended to like 15 HPA or 20 HPA, and it certainly didn't descend to 30 HPA. And then it sort of appeared again at the lower levels of the atmosphere. It just all went wrong as we went through that phase. But we can see the very latest, and you can see the difference for this year, that this white area is descending. It has descended. It's just struggling to get into that 30 HPA level just there. But certainly the ECQBO has descended, which is descending from the stratosphere almost to the troposphere, which is something that didn't happen back in 2016. So that's why I say that I don't think anything can stop this ECQBO. It will eventually power up, and we will have a proper ECQBO. I don't think it's too far down into the atmosphere to be able to stop this ECQBO from developing, which is something that didn't happen. We didn't get that descent back in 2016. So this is, I'm sure this is not going to be another 2016. I'm sure we're not going to have another failure of the easterly QBO. And I think we will, as we go through the next few months, we will see the easterly QBO powering up. The east QBO does sometimes struggle to get going, but it usually does. If we have a look and go back to the year of 1978, 1979, actually, that's a good example. So again, you can see how the easterly QBO descends with that white area just there through 1978. 1978 and into the early part of 1979. When it gets a bit stuck, this grey, it doesn't push this grey area down for a little while. It gets a bit stuck just around 30 HPA there for several months, from 78 into 79, and then finally later into 1979 it does descend properly. So that's the kind of thing we're going to see with this. I'm 90% certain, probably 95% certain, that we are going to have an easterly QBO and we won't have a failure. I think it's just too far gone through the atmosphere to be able to stop this ECQBO from developing. It's just taking its time, but we will get there with it. And next winter 2020-2021 should be quite a strong easterly QBO winter. Right, moving on to the Arctic oscillations. So this is the AO observed and forecast chart. So black line shows where we've been with the Arctic oscillation, red lines at the end where the GFS ensembles forecasting the Arctic oscillation to go. As with all of these indexes, the QBO, the SOI, and so on, the Arctic oscillation is just an index that's reflecting atmospheric state, this time looking at air pressures in the Arctic, of course. So when the AO is in its positive phase, you've got low pressure over the Arctic, and in winter you will power up the zone west. When the AO is in its negative phase, you'll have high pressure over the Arctic. You'll have blocking over the Arctic, and of course, I had a very, very positive AO through this winter, record-breakingly so on several occasions. Where we are right now is still very positive with the AO, and in the next couple of days, the AO is actually going to power up to very, very positive territory again. But then after that, as we go to the end of March and into the beginning of April, you can see that GFS ensembles are forecasting a massive crash, and it is a crash from there to there. A massive crash in the Arctic oscillation is being forecast. So this tells us that we are going to be, to get towards the last stages of March, we are going to be increasing the northern blocking signal quite dramatically, and it looks like the AO is going to go negative at the end of March and into the start of April for the first time since the second half of December. So interesting times ahead, and that tells us there is a major change coming for late March and into the beginning of April, with the AO going into a negative phase after so many months and weeks of positivity. This is the NAO observed and forecast chart. So again, this is measuring air pressure in the North Atlantic. When you've got a positive NAO, you have low pressure around Iceland and high pressure through the Azores, and it's the reverse when you have a negative NAO. The NAO has been positive throughout this entire winter just gone and now into spring. That's where we are right now. We are still positive with the NAO. Similar to what we saw with the AO, though, it does look as though the GFS ensembles for late March into the beginning of April are forecasting the NAO to start to move into more negative territory as well. So both of the indexes look like they're on the move here for late March and beginning of April, and that could well be telling us that we're going into maybe quite a coldish sort of end to March, and beginning of April we might be starting to see signs of something a little bit wintry perhaps for the end of March. Who would have thought that? So doing some forecasting, these are the GFS upper air temperature and precipitation ensembles for the next couple of weeks. The red line is the 30-year upper air temperature average for London. So we're going to lift the upper air temperatures up over the next few days, but of course it is associated with high pressure, so we won't necessarily feel all that mild down on the surface. Although in the March sunshine, it's not going to be too bad in terms of how it feels, I don't think, but by night it could be a bit on the cold side. But you see there is a definite drop in the upper air temperatures as we come towards the end of March and the start of April just here. Looks like we're going below average with the upper air temperatures there. And that's when the AO and the NAO are on the move as well, of course. So it does look as though as we increase the northern blocking signal, we possibly start to turn things rather cold for the end of March and the beginning of April. Beyond that, there's a lot of scatter. Several of these ensemble members are keeping things pretty cold through the first week of April. These ones up here are turning things a little bit milder with the upper air temperatures. A lot of dry weather to come now, really till the end of March into the first week of April. Do have more precipitation spikes appearing, so yes, might start to turn more unsettled through the earlier part of April, but before then there is a lot of dry weather away from Western Scotland where it will actually be quite wet. Temperature anomalies from the 22nd to the 30th of March. Look at that, much colder than average in many parts of Europe. Massive changes on what we've had for a very long time. And the UK and Ireland included in that, so below average temperature anomalies in the weekend, particularly for England and Wales. That's because there can be some quite sharp overnight frost under the high pressure. And very dry too, precipitation anomalies from the 22nd of March to the 30th, drier than average through many parts of Europe, although it does look quite wet down across southern Europe. This was the midnight run of the GFS, so high pressure sitting to our east on Wednesday, pulling in a rather chilly east to southeasterly flow from the continent into the end of the week and next weekend. Low pressure starts to drop in from the north. So next weekend we've got low pressure dropping in from the north. That's turning wind into the north and possibly bringing, we will certainly bring down colder air, but possibly bring down the chance of winteriness as well. So next weekend there may actually be some wintry showers, possibly some snow in places next weekend with a cold north to northeasterly wind. I am considering the fact that we may have to do snow watch, would you believe, at some point in the next few days. It won't be today, but certainly later in the week, if these charts continue to be churned out by the models, we could well be thinking about doing snow watch, certainly by the middle of this week, I think. It stays cold up towards day 10. Eventually we start to get this ridge building close to us, so it does start to turn drier as we get to day 10, Wednesday the 1st of April. But overall that's still quite cold even then, and there will still be overnight frost. In more extended range, we have a go at moving the high pressure back up towards Greenland. So overall it does look as though temperatures probably staying a little bit on the cold side through the first week of April. There is a lot of dry weather on offer, that's the plus side. It continues to be relatively dry, but temperatures are struggling there, let's put it like that, through the first week of April. The GEM looks like this, so again we've got quite a chilly east-southeasterly flow around the middle of this week. Then the high pressure pulls out to our west and we start to drop in a trough from the north. We've got a trough of low pressure running down the North Sea, and that turns the winds into the north. So this is putting cold air down from the north. Look how far north the isobars go. They're going up to here, so this is a proper sort of Arctic wind that's blowing here next weekend. And then we see the high pressure sort of building very close to the country. This is the 6 o'clock run of the GFS, I should say. Sorry about that. This is the 6 o'clock GFS run, which has been updated as we're doing the video, of course. So it's the same idea as the midnight GFS run, though. Again, we've got that trough dropping in from the north, and it is cold with those north to northeasterly winds up to day 10. Then high pressure begins to build over the country. That'll be quite a cold ridge, bringing night frost, but the risk of wintry showers will decrease. And then as we go into the start of April, we start to pick up more of an easterly wind, particularly for England and Wales. It's relatively dry again, but temperatures are probably a bit on the cold side. And that high pressure sticks close to us as we go towards the end of the 6 o'clock GFS run. So that's how we finish up with 6 o'clock GFS run on the 7th of April. And we're still under an area of high pressure, mainly dry, but probably even then still relatively cold, especially so at night. I think the temperatures are going to really struggle over the next week or two. This is the GEM. Right, we're up to the GEM properly now. So again, Wednesday, we've got these east-southeasterly winds in the south. We're quite chilly there, milder further north. Then the high pressure pulls out to the west. The high pressure starts to go towards Greenland, though, with the GEM. And we start to get more of a northerly beginning to push down through next weekend. So we've got a proper northerly to northeasterly wind there on Sunday. Follow the isobars back again. The air is originating from a very long way north, so proper Arctic winds descending down across the country next weekend, and staying cold as we get to day 10. Look at that, proper easterly winds there at day 10 with low pressure to our south. Lots of blocking from Greenland to Scandinavia, or Iceland and southern Greenland to Scandinavia. Wind in from the east, and the upper air temperatures look genuinely cold. Of course, with this low pressure to our south, there would be the threat of snow there. So as I say, I am contemplating that we're going to have to do snow watch at some point in the coming days. There is wintry potential here for next weekend and possibly beyond. ECM looks like that, so again, rather dry and quite chilly through the middle part of the week, particularly so at night. Won't be too bad by day. Into the end of next week, then the high pressure pulls out to our west. Same idea, winds turn into the north with the ECM. We pull in a north to northeasterly wind through next weekend. That could drag in some wintry showers, possibly some snow showers with it. And then a renewed push from the north as we get towards the end of the ECM run. So we've got another trough of low pressure developing just there to the north of Scotland on the 30th of March. That sinks down across the country as we go to 31st. It's within cold air again as well, so there is definite wintry potential with that. So we finish up at day 10 with a proper easterly wind there. So, and low pressure across northern parts of France. So, wintry potential for the end of March and beginning of April. This is a precipitation type forecast based on that ECM run from TibetShow.com. Loads of dry weather coming up over the next few days. We really are high and dry, except in the far northwest of Scotland, where a waving weather front will bring pulses of rain there. So it could be very wet for western Scotland in this sort of pattern. But otherwise, just day after day of dry weather until we get towards the end of the coming week. And then bring this band of showery rain southwards across the country. And we start to introduce colder air from the north as we go into next weekend. So wintry showers here across the northern eastern parts of the country on the 28th of March. That's next weekend, of course. And we keep things looking pretty chilly, really, as we move into the more extended range. So another, that second area of low pressure to about the north of Scotland, that sinks down across the country on the 30th of March with a band of rain and possibly some hailstone. Once that gets out of the way, then we really do open the door to a properly cold north to northeasterly, and there is snow showers being forecast there with those north to northeasterly winds, even some sleet or snow possible down in the south by the 1st of April. So watch out for snow watch, possibly anyway, in the coming days, if model output continues to look like this the next weekend and beyond. These options are on the table within the ECM Ensemble today for day 10, gets us to the 1st of April. We have 22 members of the ECM Ensemble with high pressure out to the northwest, and we're bringing in a northeasterly wind. They're going to be quite dry but cold. 10 with high pressure around Iceland, low pressure to our south, bringing a cold easterly wind. 8 with a Scandinavian high pressure up here, and they're bringing easterly winds too. 6 with high pressure out to our northwest, low pressure to our southeast, they're bringing a cold north to northeasterly wind. And then 5 at a flatter, more unsettled but also milder, with a westerly flow. In 2 weeks' time, these are the options that we've got. We have 18 members of the ECM Ensemble with high pressure up towards Greenland, low pressure, deep trough through Scandinavia, winds are from the north to northeast. 18 with an area of high pressure sitting over top of the country, and possibly bringing up something slightly milder with the air with that from the south-southeast. And then we've got 15 with high pressure to our south and low pressure to the north, they're flat and westerly. Perhaps signs that it turns a bit milder through the first week of April. CFSV2 looks like that. These are 500 millibar heights broken down to week periods. The first week period takes us from the 22nd to 28th of March. The coming week has high pressure over Scandinavia and winds are in from the east, so quite dry but also pretty cold. Week 2 is the 29th of March to the 4th of April. High pressure over Scandinavia is still in control, but low pressures to our south. Winds are in from the east, so cold, and there's a bit of wintry potential there, maybe for southern parts of the country too. Week 3 is the 5th to the 11th of April. Then low pressure develops out to our northwest, high pressure to our southwest. Looks like the winds are reverting more to a west-southwesterly. That's much more typical, of course, and milder. And then week 4 is the 12th to the 18th of April, with high pressure ridging up from the southwest, low pressure out to the north, and winds are southwesterly. So further on into April we go, it gets a great deal milder. April overall looks like that finally, with the CFSV2 700 millibar high anomaly, low pressure in the North Atlantic. Otherwise, quite a strange looking chart. Not a lot else to go on. There's low pressure to our north, but it looks like we've got near average heights being forecast there today for April from the CFS. Temperature anomalies for April looking very average, and also precipitation anomalies looking very average as well. That's quite a strange 700 millibar height anomaly there, and I'm not sure quite what sort of month we will get with that. But there we go. Sometimes the model output does get a bit strange, and that is one of those examples of quite a bizarre 700 millibar high W for April. Right, that's it for your Sunday Roundup for this week. We'll be back later on with your ECMWF Metro France and DWD seasonal update. And of course, don't forget to check out those summer analogues. That video will be placed on the summer updates page with written summary later on this afternoon. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday, enjoy the rest of your Mothering Sunday. And that's all for now, though. Thanks for watching.